teach mathematics, and I love what I do because I have a freedom of sharing my knowledge with people, with young adolescents that are very important in our sort of society because they are our future. And I have realized that having a passive income is not about just the money that you generate in your pocket, but also that you retain the assets that you have in your portfolio. And that didn't occur to me for a number of years. I just was focused on how do I make more money. So before I enter into real estate investing journey, my idea of making money was to get extra income from another job, maybe stay longer. If I were to pay by the hour, I would love to stay longer and make more money that way, because this is how I understood how money worked in my life. So how many of you can relate to that? Like, if you need more money, people say, well, then another part-time job, maybe you do work on the weekends. So I did tutor on weekends. So this is how I was implementing my income, and that how I was kind of surviving. And I was surviving that for many, many years, and I'm not a young person, and you can kind of see that, well, do you want to repeat the same thing what I did for 40 plus years? Or maybe you can capitalize on the knowledge that we're sharing with you and say, hey, I can wake up and maybe get further ahead in life, because the time is the asset that we cannot spare and lose it. It is very, very important in our life. So I've started looking for possibilities, and because I have a very loving wife and 2 kids, we support each other, and this is very important that we are on the same page. So that's why when I was sent on journey, this was thankfully to my loving wife, who gave me a little kick in the rear end and said, go and find out. I had no idea where I was supposed to go, and I end up showing up at a real estate investment event held by Robert G. Allen, and this is how I started. I met Sunil over there, not even knowing that what's going to happen to me years from that time. I had no idea, because there were so many different informations. People were talking about this strategy, that strategy, and my head was spinning. And I said, like, how I'm going to start, what I'm going to do, like, where do you put your first dollar? How do you make that dollar in order to make another dollar, and so on. So basically my lesson from that time was, find someone who has what you want and follow that person. So I have to realize that having a mentor and someone who helps, it's very important in my life. And this is that I'm continuing to benefit from. Sunil is my mentor till today, and he continues to teaching me, sharing his knowledge with me on a regular basis. So consistency is important. So once you make up your mind that you're ready, you have to follow through. This is what I have had to learn. My mindset had to change, because I was trained to be distracted by many different things. I was watching news back in the days, reading a paper. I was so happy on Saturday morning when I could grab my Toronto Star, and I was like, oh, let's see what happens in the world. And I thought I was a very well-educated person because I knew things from the paper. But later found out that that was a very useless knowledge. Pretty much, they just talk about the stuff that you don't want to know, and most of it is useless. So that took me many, many years to realize that listen to what your mentor says. Put your paper away. It is not important in your life. 640 News in the traffic. Anybody can relate to that? 680 News, 1010 talk shows. Well, yeah, let's flip the channel. Let's see what these have to say. Also, distraction, because by the time you get home, your head is pounding from all kinds of news. Like the market's up, the market's down, nobody understands why, what's going on. There was a war here, there's a war there. So all that stuff is very, very distracting, and I had to stop doing that. And I had to focus on what I want to do without paying attention what other people are chasing. Because everyone in our life has its own goal that you have to follow, and with passion, and you have to be focused when you're on your journey. You can't be looking left and right, because you tend to be always seeing maybe this guy has more, this guy has more, even twice as much, and then you don't know what to do. So focus on what you want to do. You know what your level of comfort is. You know that this much money would work for you, for example. And for me, it was important to generate passive income part-time, so my job that pays me almost the same amount could be either replaced, or you can enjoy both. And most of us here have jobs. Who doesn't have a job? Raise your hand. See? Okay, maybe 2 people, but most of us do work, and we want to have sort of a fulfilling life with our job, and also have opportunity to create extra income on the side, totally passive. And when I started investing, I've learned that one property at the time was working for me. So I started with one. Then quickly after, I bought a new one. And at the time when I started in 2007, I've signed the first contract. My hand was shaking when I signed the first, because later I realized, like, oh my God, now I have to pay them my money. What do I do now? Find a renter. The next thing was sort of make sure that that property is paying for itself. And even today, when I have a new opportunity, I still kind of like, oh, I have to pay again? But then I have to go back to my memory and say, yes, this is my cash flowing properties that I'm buying. This is the asset that I still hold and enjoy the benefits. And I want to share with you some numbers, because recently I was going through some numbers, and when I talk to people, most of them, they just focus on the numbers, but not behind the scene what happens. So is that okay when I share some numbers with you? Do you have your permission? Okay. So there is a property that I'm referring to, and the monthly income for that property is $500 per month. Just $500. So don't worry about this number. It could be less, it could be more. The idea here is to understand the following, that $500 a month is equivalent to about $6,000, or maybe exactly $6,000 per year. And this is what I realize, 6,000. It is 6,000.
I've never seen a math teacher do that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, you missed my class. So, and this is how I look at that. And I talk to an average person to inspire that and say, what is your income per year? And people have different range of numbers, 40,000, 50, 60, 100,000. So then we kind of try to break it down and say, how much more time, your time, you would have to invest having your job today in order to generate that extra $6,000 per year. And then you start thinking about this. For example, if your income is $100,000 per year, let's say it is $100,000 per year, how many hours would you have to spend in addition to your time at work in order to generate $6,000 extra? What do you think? How many hours of your time would that require for you? Yes? 300 hours. Anybody else?
2 hours per week.
In total, 2 hours per week?
150 hours.
150 hours. How do we know that? Can you share with us the secret?
6,000 divided by 6,000.
So $100,000 of your salary is equivalent to $50 per hour, let's say. Equivalent, right? So if you divide 6,000 by 50, what do you get? 120. 120 hours of your time you would have to spend. So in the past, when I was very tempted to make extra income, what I was doing, I was getting extra work on the weekend. So I would go out and tutor kids. And I would make that cash. And I was like very happy that, you know, $100 gets into my pocket at the end of the day. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to go home. And I'm so happy because that $100 extra of my hard work came to my pocket. But then I realized over time that, yes, I have to pay, you know, for this, for that, and I have nothing in the end. So I'm trading time for money, but I'm not really getting ahead. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just trading time for money. If I stop working, that $6,000 is not coming. And recently, when I started investing, and I started investing from 2007, when I have this $6,000 coming to me without extra work, the only work that is involved here, for example, is to open the envelope when the check comes and make a trip to the bank. And sometimes it's a rainy or snowy day. Can you imagine how hard that is? You have to leave your home to deposit that.
Now you can take a picture.
Because I didn't learn in that if I had started with different bank that has connection with that bank, the money could have been wired like a cost-effective way of doing that. Nowadays, there are very different, easier ways of dealing with that. But I'm a very traditional person. I want that check to come in the mail to me. So when I get those checks every month, I have to go to the bank and start depositing the money. And this is really, really hard for me. And I know it's, so things like that, when you start, and I enjoy the fact that the asset is still there. So the money is coming, and whether I'm working or not, the money is still coming, and I still enjoy the asset. This is the biggest thing for me, and I want to maybe open your eyes to that this is not about stretching yourself to spend more time at work to create more income. This is finding the way of making money in addition to what you're doing already. Because maybe you're happy with what you do right now, but you are longing for extra income. So think of that, because this is to me like something that I didn't realize for many, many years. I wanted to always have extra money, and I knew only that there's only one way of making that, by trading time for money. Because of the people that I associate myself with, people like you, when I come to this meeting, when I come to another workshop where it's necessary for me to learn something new, I don't mind doing it, because this is very important. My mentor is very important in my life. People that do very similar things are very important. So your mind has to change in order to be able to do those things that I was able to do for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And I hope that you will take action someday if you still haven't done it, and you follow that with consistency, and someday you will say, thank you for that time spent here because I took action. Thank you for the fact that next to me is a person who did something what I have been wanting to do for many, many years. Today I'm also writing a book, so I'm an author. So that's a very great accomplishment for me. And I mentor people, coach them how to create passive income and still enjoy benefits of your daytime job. So thank you very much for your time, and have a great afternoon.